everybody, and welcome back to the United Stand. On today's show, Elliot Anderson, Manchester United's top target, but is he possible in the summer? It's looking like Manchester United want to do that deal, but it's going to prove very, very difficult, which means Carlos Baleba is the favourite to come to Manchester United. Can Manchester United afford to miss out on the likes of Elliot Anderson? We've missed out on the likes of Jude Bellingham in the past. We've missed out on Declan Rice, who we've been linked to. Would this be another mistake to not go and take that plunge, pay the money, wait for him after the World Cup and go and get him? Or will Manchester United just want a deal wrapped up very, very quickly? Someone who you'd be able to get if you pay the price pretty soon at the start of the summer in Carlos Baleba, who might be a little bit more of a risk. Get your comments in. Let me know. Would you rather Baleba in straight away, start the window, or would you rather wait around and hope that we can manage to persuade Elliot Anderson to join Manchester United and persuade Nottingham Forest to sell him for the right price as well? Let me know your thoughts on that. We're going to get into it. Also, some more news coming out about Ruben Amorim's wish for Antoine Semenyo. We've heard about the release clause of Antoine Semenyo. It's a fantastic 65 million release clause with 60 million up front. Ruben Amorim really likes the player, but how feasible is it for Manchester United? Well, it's coming out from The Athletic about some news around that, so I can't wait to bring that in and have a little discussion around Semenyo. Also, a little bit about Senne Lammens as well. Fantastic yesterday in his senior debut for Belgium, so very happy for him. I'm going to discuss him a little bit. And some more news coming out about Ruben Amorim, what he's like behind the scenes, what he's like with the players, the connection he has with the players, how he's seen in and around the club, and why he's been able to keep the dressing room on side. Going to talk about that. And there's some stuff around Shea Lacey as well. Could he be in line to make his debut soon for Manchester United? Amorim really likes him, so we're going to discuss that too. Anything else that comes out, we'll be bringing it into the show. Happy Wednesday, midweek it is, and we're getting closer. We're getting closer to that Manchester United game on Monday night. I cannot wait for it, and I just cannot wait for Premier League football to be back, to be honest with you. Although the international break has been a bit of a cracker, hasn't it? It's been a bit of a Christmas cracker, nearly at Christmas so far. I mean, Scott McTominay's goal, the bicycle kick, fantastic. And then Ireland, that was a really good kind of story as well to watch. Andy Robertson, did everybody see his interview speaking about how he was thinking about Diogo Jota when Scotland qualified? It really touched my heart. I had a tear in my eye. It's been quite a good international break, and usually I can't wait for Premier League football to be back. And I still am, itching to see Man United play again and get the Prem back. But the international football on this international break, I think, has actually been pretty good, and it's made me a little bit more excited for the World Cup, I tell you that. But anyway, get your comments in, let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling on this Wednesday morning. Anyway, let's start off. So, I want to talk a little bit about Elliot Anderson and the transfer setback that Manchester United could be facing with this deal. So, it's coming from Nathan Salt of the Daily Mail, very good journalist, know him myself, and he's got some good insight in and around the club. And he has said this: the long-term plan has been to undergo the extensive surgery in the summer of 2026, now that the club believe they have ready-made players set for other positions. So the extensive surgery of the midfield. The issue with Anderson is that Nottingham Forest are notoriously difficult to deal with and negotiate with. He's set to play a starring role at the World Cup as one of the focal points in Thomas Tuchel's England, and is going to cost in excess of 100 million as a result of that. And I can't wait to get Ben back on the show, just to get it clarified again, because there's a couple of things I want to unpick here. First and foremost, are we incapable of signing a player just because he's gone to the World Cup? I mean, I know it's an international competition, and I know that it does take the player away for a large chunk of the summer transfer window. But there's periods before the World Cup, there's periods after the World Cup. Why does the World Cup make us incapable of signing players? Yes, it would be easier to do it outside of the World Cup, but surely at Manchester United you want players that are competing on the highest stage at the highest level that are picked for their national teams. Elliot Anderson is going to start for England in the World Cup, I'm pretty sure of it. He's been fantastic this season. You want the best of the best playing for Man United. We should have players in our squad playing for England, playing for their countries. We should have that. Not just England, but internationally as well. But I look at obviously I'm English and I support England. So I look at the England squad And I've always recognised Man United players in there. I've always gone, you know, there's Wayne Rooney, there's Kobbie Mainoo last season, there's Harry Maguire, there's Luke Shaw, what other players? Marcus Rashford, other players that we've had in our lifetime, and, you know, you kind of think back, but we've always had players in the national team for England, and there's always Man United players there. It is really dry for Manchester United and England right now. I actually don't think we have one player from our squad currently called up for Thomas Tuchel's England squad. Am I mistaken? I don't think there's one player. Marcus Rashford's the closest thing because he's on loan. That's it. That's not good. That's not good for Manchester United. When the lifeblood of Manchester United Football Club is our academy and bringing players up through the academy, and of course, you know, you buy in international talents, you go and buy in talents from South America, from Europe, and I'm all for that. I think it's a really positive thing we do. But to not have one player from Manchester United, the biggest English club in the world, playing for England, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I like to be able to have some players in there, and I think it's good to represent the biggest club in England on the national stage as well. So, I mean, the closest one to get into that World Cup squad, I would say, by the end of the season, would be Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw could be knocking on the door. He's played every game for United so far this season. He's quality, and England have a little bit of a weak spot when it comes to that left-back area. He can play left-sided centre-back, he can play left-back, he can play left wing-back. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Shaw ends up getting in by the end of the year. Harry Maguire doesn't seem to fancy him, and plus Harry Maguire's had his time at England. I wouldn't say he's had his time. I actually still would, you know, consider taking Harry Maguire if I was Thomas Tuchel, but he's had his prime years, hasn't he? He might not even stay at Manchester United past this season. And then you look across, Kobbie Mainoo should be there. I think he absolutely should be there. It pains me to see, you know, the likes of Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton, them type of players kind of been given their flowers, and Kobbie Mainoo's missing out because I feel like he has the talent. But he's not been played, so he's not there. We don't have anybody playing in the England national team, and I think we should want players that are playing at the highest level. We should want players that are starting for their countries. I mean, Bruno Fernandes starting for his country is one of our best players, and he's also one of Portugal's best players, in my opinion. So, you know, that's what we want kind of all over the pitch. And yeah, it might be difficult to negotiate for Elliot Anderson while the World Cup is going on, but it's not impossible. What you do is you make Nottingham Forest aware. You make Nottingham Forest aware very early doors, and you make Elliot Anderson aware very early doors. We want to sign you this summer. So if you're Manchester United, you go on, get in contact with Elliot Anderson's representatives, Elliot Anderson's camp, and you say, would you want to join Manchester United, because we're going to get in contact with Nottingham Forest about signing you, and we really want you. You pitch him the project. This is before he goes out to the World Cup, if he's willing to listen. You pitch him the project and you say, are you happy with us contacting Nottingham Forest about a potential move? He goes, look, I would love to join Manchester United. I'm talking in an ideal world. I would love to join Manchester United. I know there's quite a few clubs interested in me, but I'd absolutely be willing to listen to your offer, and I'm happy with you to negotiate with Nottingham Forest. I want to put all my attention on the World Cup right now. It's my first World Cup. I've got a really big opportunity here to show myself on a world stage playing for England. I just want to fully focus on the England camp and the World Cup. And then when I get back, because this is what most players do. If not all, most players would prefer it this way. Some will move mid-tournament, even though it wouldn't be ideal for them. Some might move beforehand. But ideally, most footballers just want to lock in on the World Cup. You can speak to my agent throughout the World Cup if you want. He knows what I want. But while I'm at the World Cup, I'm going to lock in. When I get back, that's where I'm going to decide which club I go to and what move I'm going to make. And it's up to you to negotiate with Forest for that. Manchester United goes, Elliot, I hear you. It's one of the reasons we want you. You're a top professional. And on top of that, we want players that are playing at this level, and that's exactly what you are. So we're going to go away. Now you give us the green light that you would sign for us. We're going to go away. We're going to talk to Nottingham Forest, and we're going to figure out a way to do this deal. Elliot Anderson gets back from the World Cup. United have done the majority of the legwork with Nottingham Forest around a fee. What fee would it take to get Elliot Anderson out of Nottingham Forest and to Manchester United? Elliot Anderson gets back. we've spoke to your agent, we've negotiated a contract, this is the offer we are putting to you. And I'm sure other clubs will probably do this. Newcastle apparently in the race, there could be other clubs in for Elliot Anderson. And he looks at his offers and he goes, I want to go to Newcastle, which would be gutting when you've put in all that legwork. Or he goes, you know what, I'm really sold on Manchester United. Nottingham Forest have already agreed that fee with Manchester United, or there and thereabouts. There's not much to do. The contract's basically in place. It's been looked over by the agent. Elliot Anderson just has to kind of approve everything. And that is where you handle a player that's at the World Cup and just wants to be absolutely locked in on the World Cup. They have agents. Nottingham Forest's owners aren't at the World Cup, are they? You can speak to them. It's not as if all communication to any transfer just locks off as soon as the World Cup begins. It's a busier time period and it is more difficult, but you can get deals done and you can do them in an efficient way. So it wouldn't put me off, the fact that he's playing in a World Cup. I want, and I can't stress it enough, I want players that are the top level players to be at Manchester United. When we're rebuilding our midfield, which is what we're doing, we're going under a process in this summer of completely rebuilding our midfield. I want the best of the best ready to come in and play. And if that's Elliot Anderson, you do what I've just said in a roundabout way and you go and get the deal done. You don't just go for an easier option because negotiations are going to be difficult or we'll have to wait a little bit. It's a World Cup year. Deal with it and get the players you want, because this time next year, if you go for the easier option, Elliot Anderson's absolutely balling out wherever he ends up. And we've gone for the easy option, but he's not as good. You think to yourself, probably should have just put the extra effort in the summer to go and make sure that deal got done. Probably should have just paid the extra 10 million to make sure that deal got done. At the end of the day, you pay for what you get, and the work you put in, you'll get back. And the reason why it'll be a little bit more difficult to get Elliot Anderson in the summer is because he's worth it. It's because he's worth it. So I'm still on the bandwagon of I would want to go all in for Elliot Anderson. I am still on that path. I think Manchester United, if they let Elliot Anderson slip through their fingers, I think it'd be a mistake. We've been here so many times before where top talents end up slipping through our fingers because we won't put the legwork in to get the deals done. We don't want to go and pay the money. We don't want to wait. We don't negotiate properly with the club. It's happened before. Declan Rice is a massive one. We wanted to go and get Declan Rice. Ollie wanted Declan Rice, but West Ham were quite difficult to negotiate with. They wanted a big fee. But Declan Rice was open to joining Manchester United. It didn't end up happening. He's probably on track to win a Premier League now. And he's in a good team at Arsenal. He's one of the better midfielders in the league, and he's going to be playing for England throughout the World Cup because that's the top talents. The top talents go and play these competitions, and we've let these top talents. It's not as if, because people will tarnish with the brush English bias, but there should be some national pride of having some English players in the Man United side playing for us. And Declan Rice was one we missed out on. We've missed out previously. I don't want to miss out on Elliot Anderson as well. But let me know your thoughts. Jonathan says Semenyo is not good enough for England right now. Neither is Shaw. Right this second, no, because Adam Wharton's absolutely killing it. Elliot Anderson's killing it. Declan Rice is obviously fantastic. So we've got some really good midfielders playing for England right now. However, I think if Semenyo was actually playing football week in, week out, it'd at least be an option and be up there for Thomas Tuchel. But unfortunately, he's not being able to showcase himself the way that all these players are. Adam Wharton starting every week for Crystal Palace. Elliot Anderson starting every week for Nottingham Forest. Declan Rice is starting every week for Arsenal. Like, players are starting every week, and Kobbie Mainoo can't even get off the bench half the time. We're playing one game a week, so it's hard to kind of show yourself when you're doing that. I think Luke Shaw is absolutely good enough to play for England. It's just whether he is fit enough to get into Thomas Tuchel's eye line, because I don't think Thomas Tuchel's thought about him properly yet. So yeah, and just on that as well, with the England thing, it'll be the same for Adam Wharton, by the way. A lot of people want Adam Wharton. I know everybody has their preferences, but it'll be the same thing for Adam Wharton. He's at the World Cup. You're going to have to negotiate with Palace during that time period, and then you put all the plans in place. And this is where Manchester United have to be on it. And I have more faith. I have more faith in our current recruitment team with Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, and the team they've got to do the legwork first. I have way more faith because I'm going to speak about Semenyo in a little bit, and we spoke to Semenyo in March last year about a potential deal. We spoke to Brian Mbeumo in March last year about a potential deal. So I have more faith in this recruitment team than I have in previous years for United. You've got to be in a situation, if you're United, where you have Wharton potentially lined up, Anderson potentially lined up, Baleba potentially lined up. Like, I'm not saying you need 10 midfielders lined up and you just go, that one, after the World Cup. But if we're seriously interested in Adam Wharton, he's going to a World Cup, get that deal in place or get the ball rolling. Elliot Anderson, same thing, which I've just explained. And the players that are going to be on the plane going to the World Cup, you've got to kind of get these things in place early doors so you have a crack at it, because there's going to be other clubs that want these players. So yeah, let's see what happens with that. Regarding Baleba, this is why it makes me think United are probably way more likely to go for him. And it's a very interesting situation, isn't it? Because like I said, United should have the best of the best, but Baleba is still going to cost a lot of money, you can assume, from Brighton. They do not let players go for cheap. Despite his dip in form, they are still persisting that they think he's going to be the next Caicedo, if not even better. And Caicedo, for me, is probably the best centre defensive midfielder in the league right now. So that's what they're persisting on. Unless Baleba is an absolute nightmare from now until the end of the season, I still think they're going to want at least 80 million for him, if not more. And one, should you pay that anyway when the player's had a bad season, because that will mean he's had a poor full season if the price drops to there. Do you still take a chance? And two, will Man United just go for the Baleba option because he's been scouted out in the summer? Amorim really likes him, he likes his attributes, he feels like he can get the best out of him? Or will they go for him because Elliot Anderson's a bit too expensive? Adam Wharton's going to be difficult to get. Is it just out of convenience that we're going to go for Carlos Baleba next summer? That is my question, because if it's the Carlos Baleba of last season, I am there, I'm at the front of the queue, I think he could be fantastic. But I've watched him quite a bit this season now, and he's just not been anywhere near at it. Bruno and Casemiro scored him at Old Trafford, and they're the players that people are looking to eventually replace and upgrade on, or not upgrade, but pass the baton on to. Them two midfielders that are over 30, we're looking to replace them with the likes of a Baleba, but Baleba's just been scored by them this season. So are we going for Baleba because he's the absolute best possible target for Ruben Amorim's midfield? Or are we going for him because he might be slightly cheaper because he had a poor season and because he's not going to the World Cup? So it's just going to be, we can get straight to him, we can get that deal done. Is that why we're going for him? And I mean, do you think that would be acceptable even if we did do that? Some people might think just get somebody in quickly and they can embed into the squad, but there's not really going to be much squad there because a lot of our players are going to be on international duty. The reason Carlos Baleba's not in the World Cup is because unfortunately Cameroon didn't qualify, which I'm gutted for Mbeumo about, but you do have a straight kind of run at him. And if he continues the way he is, I'm not sure how many clubs will be knocking on Baleba's door at the summer. They might give it another season just to see if he can get that form back. If we sign Baleba, I don't want to be too negative. It's not as if I'd be disappointed because I know that there's a player in there, but I would just be worried. I would be really worried. It's a very high risk signing for a very high fee. Has he got the mentality to not let the heaviness of the shirt affect him? Is he going to be the Baleba of last season, or are we going to get the Baleba of this season? Because if it's a Baleba of this season, I'm sorry, he doesn't start for us. He doesn't. Which one are we getting? The mind games he's played a little bit. Is that the kind of character you want in the team? We know Ruben Amorim, Jason Wilcox, they do these background checks. So I would kind of have to trust that his character has been approved by Amorim, his character has been approved by Wilcox, and they are so thorough on that. So thorough. If we did sign him, you'd have to trust that. Every player that we signed under Amorim and under Wilcox has had a top personality and had full background checks done on them. So you'd like to think so. However, it's a little bit more risky for me. Whereas with the other players I've mentioned, specifically Anderson, you just know exactly what you're getting straight away. Exactly what you're getting. But that's why it's a more difficult deal to do. But let me know. I can see us going for Baleba, but we are going to go for two. So if we went for Baleba, we could go for another player as well. And I think we will go for another player, but what player it would be? Maybe United think, look, We'll trust that Baleba's going to be the player that we scouted. We're going to trust our instincts on this. We can get him quite easily right now. Watch Brighton absolutely play hardball throughout the whole summer, and we don't get him until like the last week of August. I mean, it's just typical. But we could just go and get him right now if we pay Brighton the money and we get it sorted. And then the difficult deal we're going to do, we have the whole summer to focus on that then. So they might go with that approach, but I can see United going for Baleba out of ease, where I actually think we should be heading towards the more difficult deals because they're the best possible profiles for Amorim, for this team, and it's about the long term. And if you rush something, sometimes you don't always get the best result. Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. What I wanted to get into as well is the fact that Nathan Salt said Anderson's fee could be in excess of £100 million. He's going to cost in excess of £100 million. The reason I brought Ben Jacobs up at the start of the show is because he's told us on the show twice now that there's something in his contract. It's not a release clause, but there's some terms in his contract which means that Elliot Anderson could go for a lot cheaper than 100 million. And he said he would be very, very, very surprised if Elliot Anderson leaves Nottingham Forest in the summer for anywhere near 100 million. He said he thinks it'll be over 50, but he doesn't think it'll be anywhere near 100. So it's interesting that it's been reported multiple times. I think Plettigol reported it, Nathan Salt's reporting it. It's been reported that he's likely to cost over 100 million. But Ben Jacobs, who has had some really good moments and really good scoops. I mean, he was one of the first ones on to Sesko in the summer before we got him, right at the start of the summer, has said, to his knowledge, Elliot Anderson will go from Nottingham Forest for a lot cheaper. So I'd really love to get some clarity on that. Do you think it will be 100 million? Do you trust Ben that it's going to be less than that? Let me know your thoughts. I mean, I'm inclined to trust what Ben Jacobs has said because he's been right on multiple things we spoke about on the show. However, are the clauses, what sort of clauses are they? Are they very niche? For example, if he plays in the World Cup final, does it mean he can go for 100 million? Does it depend if England get there? There's loads of little... I mean, I really, really doubt that that's a clause in a contract, but there could be clauses that mean if certain things happen, it means that lower figure is null and void. But Ben must be quite sure it's gettable. If he said it twice now on the shows, he must be quite sure that whatever the term is, it's very gettable for Manchester United, that it could be lower than 100 million. So I'd be very interested to see what happens with that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that when it comes to Elliot Anderson. But yeah, let me get some of your comments in for sure. Let me get some of your comments in. Go into the live chat now. Smash a like on the video, by the way. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in and getting your thoughts in. Daniel Christoph says, if Anderson keeps playing decent/good this whole season and does it good with England, and next season he can be a 100 million player but break through season, a few good games and 100 million plus. Well, I don't think it is going to be 100 million, Daniel, but that's what's being reported widely. It's been mixed reports on that, so we've not got 100% clarity yet. What I would say is patience is a virtue. It really is. Patience is a virtue. I've been renovating my house recently and my family are taking the mick out of me, taking the P155 out of me because it takes me about 5 hours to paint one wall. But when I tell you, the walls I paint, it's like I've paid a decorator top dollar. I'm not to toot my own horn, but I could genuinely come and paint someone's house and you think that a decorator's done it. It's like, it could be like a secret talent. If this fails, you know, speaking to you guys about football and Manchester United, then I've got a backup plan. But I won't make any money because it takes me hours on end to get it perfect. Because for me, I'm one of them people, I don't know about you guys, I'm 0 or 100. So I'm either not bothering and something doesn't interest me in the slightest, or I am giving my absolute 100% effort every single time. So if I'm going to do something, for example, if I'm going to paint a wall, if I'm going to compete in a high rocks, if I'm going to go on a run, I'm going to give absolutely everything or else I don't do it. So it's either not all or everything, and it has to be perfect. I'm trying to get over the fact that things have to be perfect, but give absolutely everything to it. And it kind of translates in this transfer. I'm either don't bother or go and get the best. And we should bother. And, you know, the likes of João Gomez would be a good option for us. I do think there's definitely a player in Baleba, and I do think there's options out there that you can get that are a little bit easier that will do a good job for us. But I do think we'll regret it if we don't go for the absolute best. And I do think Elliot Anderson falls into that category. So it's worth sometimes taking the time. When I look back, when I'm just sat there with a cup of tea or a coffee, I don't drink tea, I'm going to be so honest. I'm a coffee drinker. When I'm sat there with a coffee and I'm admiring my painting, I'm going to think, thank God I spent like 5 hours painting that, because it looks amazing now and I can admire it. And you feel better about it. And in a year's time, when Anderson is starting every game for United and he's killing it in the midfield, United will be sat there saying, I'm so glad we spent that money. I'm so glad we spent that time negotiating this deal. I'm so glad we did that. Because you could be in a situation where the player you have bought that was a bit easier, he's kind of coming off the bench, or he's doing all right, but you're already thinking, probably need to bring in another midfielder next summer, or probably need to bring in some help to help this player settle in. You might need to go for another midfielder in 2 years. You go and get the right one now, and it can last you for years on end. So it's like, if you don't paint your wall properly, this time next year, you could be nagging the ball and chain saying, you're going to have to get a decorator in. You absolutely messed that one up. Whereas if you just put the effort in to start with, in the future, you'll thank yourself. And that's how I feel about United. Very long-winded, but yeah, that's how I am. You cheeky sod, carp or die says, bet you're repainting in less than a year. No, do you know what? I might post some pictures on my Instagram story and you'll be able to see. I've even got paint in my nails. Can you see that? All last night, working away. I don't know how HD the cameras are. Go big or go home mentality. Exactly. Go big or go home. Some people think I'm overrating Elliot Anderson. I mean, maybe I've just watched the games this season where he's been basically man of the match every game, and even for England he's done really well. But feel free to have your opinion, of course. I mean, let's talk a little bit about Antoine Semenyo as well. Talk about Senne Lammens. We've got so much more to talk about in the show. A little bit about Ruben Amorim. But before we do that, I do have to tell you guys, because if I don't tell you, you might miss out, and that would be devastating for you. And I'm doing you a big favour here. That's football on Friday, Bundesliga. It will be Mainz versus Hoffenheim. 7:15 the stream starts, and it's for a 7:30 kickoff. Live match of the Bundesliga game, Mainz versus Hoffenheim. Goldbridge will be watching it along with you and giving you the commentary. Make sure you are tuning in. And then we've got even more treats in store for you, because as I said at the start of the show, Premier League football is back. Burnley versus Chelsea, Goldbridge will be doing a watch along for that. Newcastle versus Man City, a watch along will also happen for that. And then Sunday, it is the North London derby. It's Arsenal versus Spurs. Make sure you're there. That'll be a cracker. That'll be a good game. I wonder how each team will approach that one. But you can watch it all and get in that football community by heading over there, switch your notifications on, and stay tuned for them games. Stephen Brown says, it took us 7 weeks to get Mbumo in. We will have to start talks now. I mean, that's what I said. It might be easier on paper to go and get Baleba in, but knowing what we're like, I mean, even when it's an open goal, it takes us a while, doesn't it? It does take us a while. But let me get into this Semenyo news, because this is another player that we could look at. So this is coming in from The Athletic on Antoine Semenyo. Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim admires Antoine Semenyo, but meeting his 65 million release clause Bournemouth are asking for would be difficult for the club to do in January. And then Duncan Castles has said Amorim had dinner with Semenyo in London at the end of last season to assess his character ahead of a future move. But any move is unlikely to happen in the winter. So what you tell me there is it's not completely impossible. Like that's given me a little bit of faith. It's like when someone tries to close the door, but you know when it's like ajar and you can see a little bit of crack of light coming through? Still slightly open. What gives me faith about this is that Ruben Amorim clearly really likes the player. He was scouted out in the back end of last season and we begun talking to him in March. He's met him for dinner, which shows he's absolutely enthused about it. Do you remember when Right, I'll cast your mind back. Do you remember when Senne Lammens came into Manchester United in the summer and he did an interview with the club, and one part of the interview which kind of really shocked me is they asked, have you spoke to the manager yet? And he said, no, I've not had a chance to speak to him yet, but I'm excited to meet him. And I thought, Ruben Amorim hasn't even spoke to Senne Lammens before we've signed him. Usually the manager would talk to a player and talk to them about their project, what they see their future like in the club, what they expect from them, see their character. But to be honest with you, and it's all worked out now, I think Ruben Amorim was way more bothered about trying to bring Emi Martinez in. He had phone calls, multiple phone calls with Emi Martinez. This was well documented at the time. It was well reported. And the club opted to go with Senne Lammens. So it was probably Wilcox who has spoke about the goalkeeper coach kind of getting onto his case and really pestering him about Senne Lammens, saying this is the right guy to go for. So it was probably Wilcox, Vavell, the recruitment team that kind of put the foot down on that one with Ruben Amorim and said, look, Emi Martinez is an option, but we really feel strongly that Senne Lammens is the right guy. And Amorim was probably just like, okay, I trust you guys, like, bring him in. I'd rather have a goalkeeper coming in than no one coming in, or God forbid Onana starting for me for the whole season, or Bayern starting for me for the whole season. So we went with Senne Lammens, but he hadn't actually spoke to Ruben Amorim, according to his interview, which is, I kind of thought, wow, okay, I'm shocked about that. But Ruben Amorim is already met up, according to this report, he's already met up with Antoine Semenyo. So he's gone out of his way to go and look at his character, speak to him. That shows that Amorim likes him. It shows that Amorim does like Semenyo and clearly highly rates him. So I think if Ruben Amorim knows about this release clause, which he will, that can be conversations that he'll be putting forward towards the board at Manchester United. And I really do think he'll be pushing for him. And I know it said the move is unlikely, and The Athletic said it would be difficult for the club to do in January. So meeting the 65 million release clause would be difficult for the club to do. Yeah, it would be difficult to do, but we want to do it. I'm getting from that, we want to do it. Amorim would want to do it. Amorim would want to have Semenyo. I think the club would want to make Amorim happy by going and getting Semenyo. I think he fits the criteria that INEOS are going for with their recruitment strategy. 25 years old, the same age range as Bryan Mbeumo and Cunha coming into Manchester United. Premier League proven. So not only is he at that age range where he's had a few years of experience, but he's ready to go into his prime. He's ready to hit the ground running straight away because he's already on fire in the Prem, and he can just continue that, but just wearing a different kit and in a different team. Just the same way that Cunha and Mbeumo are, and they've settled in really well. And has good character. Ruben Amorim clearly liked him when he went for that meeting with him because Manchester United are still interested, and we were interested in him. But I think towards the end of last season, Bournemouth were quoting at around 75 million for him, and it was quite a difficult deal to do. And of course, we had to go and get Bryan Mbeumo, who, I'm going to be so honest, as much as I think Semenyo is a top player, I wouldn't swap Bryan Mbeumo for Semenyo. I wouldn't. Bryan Mbeumo for me is the best signing we've done in years. Cunha was one that Ruben Amorim really wanted, and he'd name dropped him previously throughout the season. He had a release clause, so it was an open goal for us really at that point in the summer. We'd budgeted for them 2 number 10s. Now Semenyo got put on the back burner, but as I was saying on the show yesterday, he's a versatile forward that can play in any of them positions across the front line. Ruben Amorim is shown more than ever this season. He loves a versatile forward. He likes to change the front line up. Mbeumo can play anywhere across the front three. Cunha can play two positions across the front three. That could be a really dynamic front three that you could play together with Benjamin Sesko settling into Premier League life, being a little bit younger and maybe needing a little bit more time, being more of a prospect, and with the likes of Joshua Zirkzee seeking a move away. I mean, I hope Joshua Zirkzee comes in and absolutely smashes it. And I think he's way better than people give him credit for. And I do think there's untapped potential there with Zirkzee. But I just don't think Amorim fancies him. Semenyo's on the table in January. Okay, the deal might be difficult to do, but do it. But do it. Do it. You know, it might be difficult to stretch yourself to you know, the really nice bed you want, but you're going to thank yourself. You're going to thank yourself. You're going to thank yourself in a few months when you're having a good night's sleep. And I think United need to think about it that way. With the budget that we've got for the summer, we do need to go heavy on the midfield, and I completely understand that. But also you've got to back Ruben Amorim throughout the season, and if an opportunity arises like that, sometimes you just can't say no to it. So let's see what happens with it. What I would say is I don't expect United to do it. I think Semenyo will end up at Liverpool. And, come back to this, I think Semenyo will end up at Liverpool. I don't expect United to go and do it. But I think a top ambitious club would be really looking to try and find a way to do that deal. And people say, but we need to spend the money on the midfield. We need to spend the money on the midfield. We do need to spend the money on the midfield, but none of our midfield targets are available till the summer. Potentially João Gomez, and I would look to do that deal in January as well. I really would. He'd be a player I'd be open to bringing in January. But if the top midfield target isn't available to the summer, look, we were already budgeting for a forward player anyway next season. It's been reported that United want to bring in somebody to add a bit of depth for Benjamin Sesko and give him a bit of a helping hand. For me, it's just taking your budget for an extra striker and spending it on a versatile type forward. Joshua Zirkzee right now is our backup to Benjamin Sesko, yeah? Or Cunha is our backup to Benjamin Sesko. Cunha and Joshua Zirkzee both can play as a 10. And some would say are better as a 10. I think Zirkzee actually is better as a 9, to be honest with you. But as like a false 9 type 9. But both of them can play as a 10, and they're Ruben Amorim's backups to Sesko currently. / if not, sometimes Cunha's played ahead of Sesko a lot. What is Semenyo? He's a number 10/winger who can play up front as well and can play across the forward line. If it was me, I'd be looking to bring him just because of how good he is, and using the budget of our second striker to go alongside Sesko is the money to bring in Semenyo. But let me know what you think. I just seen the comment in here from King Walker. We can't let Semenyo go to our rivals, and I agree. Terry says Beth has a wonderful imagination, but Anderson is going to Newcastle. Do you genuinely think Anderson in the summer he goes to Newcastle over United if they both put the same offer together? Do you think he picks Newcastle over United in the summer? I know that it's his boyhood club, and that is a pull that kind of brings you back there, but United is the biggest club in England, and also I think has more chance of being in European football than Newcastle next season. And I might be wrong, and I might look absolutely silly come the end of the season, but do you genuinely think Newcastle beat us in a race to Elliot Anderson? I don't think so, but I might be wrong on that. I mean, it'd be about time that Newcastle did beat us to something. I mean, Mbeumo, United. Sesko, United. Cunha, United. All three players Newcastle looked at, and they ended up coming to Manchester United in the summer. So Elliot Anderson's a bit different because he has connections to the club. But I think if United and Newcastle put the same offer together for Anderson, and we had European football and they didn't, I think he's coming to Manchester United, I'm going to be so honest. Also, remember to everyone to click the link in the description for your Christmas jumper on the lead up to Christmas, nearly in December now. It's flying so quickly, but I love the Christmas countdown, and make sure you get your United Stand Christmas jumper with the link in the description there as well. Couple more things to bring in. So Senne Lammens picked up a clean sheet on his international debut for Belgium in their World Cup qualifiers. 6 games unbeaten since his Manchester United debut. So round of applause for Senne Lammens. He has changed our lives. Still early days, so again, like I said, not going to start calling him Schmeichel in disguise. He would do that. I may have sung that chant at Old Trafford, I'm not going to lie to you. But he's exciting, and it's something to put a smile on your face. When United, we've dealt with poor goalkeepers in Andre Nana and Baindir for the past few years. Having Senne Lammens in, who is a prospect that could be our keeper for the next decade, doing really well, you just enjoy the moment. And I don't want to put too much pressure on him because it's still his early days. 6 games is nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it's nice to see. And do you know what else is nice to see? Players getting moves to United and it actually being a positive for them. Because how many times have Manchester United as a football club been known as the club where players' careers come to die? They call it a graveyard for careers. Really good up-and-coming talents, if they sign for United, they end up falling off a cliff. But that's starting to change now. Senne Lammens comes to Manchester United and he's getting his debut for Belgium. and I know Courtois' injury has a helping hand, but spotlights on him, people talking about him as one of the better keepers in the league already, 6 games unbeaten, and of course he's got to do it himself. Like, I'm not taking credit, but United gives you a spotlight, and he's earned that through playing well to get them unbeaten games together for United, to pull off them saves, to have the positive start to his Manchester United career that he's had. Himself should take responsibility for that because he's put the work in, and Manchester United have helped him with that, but the spotlight's been on him and he's rose to the occasion. So I like the fact that that's a player that's benefiting positively from joining Manchester United. Bryan Mbeumo, Player of the Month, and I know he already had recognition at Brentford, but I really do think he's kind of shot off even further since he's been playing really well for Manchester United, because this isn't new from Bryan Mbeumo. He scored 20 goals last season. Like, let that sink in. But he's now doing the business for United, and he's getting even more recognition than he already did. So it's nice to see us recruiting players and them getting recognition and them kind of being propelled a little bit. Lenny Yoro, I think, is another one that's benefited from that. De Ligt is now, he played for the Netherlands, and De Ligt's always been in and out of the Netherlands squad, but he had a bit of a rocky road with the Netherlands squad, especially since Ronald Koeman came in. And he started with Van Dijk. He had a brilliant game. His numbers were off the chart. So it's good to see our players doing well for the international teams and for Manchester United benefiting them in that way. We have Tom McBride in with a super chat. Says, if we added 40 million to the 65 we would pay for Semenyo, we could go for a midfielder like Valverde. We don't need Semenyo and we won't go for him. Tom, you are entitled to your opinion. Don't think United have a chance of getting Valverde, but I love your enthusiasm. I mean, I would love Valverde at United. I've not even thought of that because I didn't see him as gettable. I love his character. I love his attributes. I would love Valverde at United, but I just don't see United getting Valverde out of Real Madrid. I'm going to be so honest. I love your enthusiasm. Shoot for the stars and land on the moon. But I just don't see it, to be quite honest. And it's still very, 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 very expensive there. Just over 100 million you'd have to spend. But he's 27, Valverde, so still a decent age, 28 in the summer. But it's not as if he's that 24, 25 age range where you don't really mind paying over 100 million for. But yeah, it's an interesting comment, Tom, and thank you for contributing. But like Sesko Lover said, Valverde will retire at Madrid. I can see that happening as well. A little bit on Ruben Amorim to bring in as well. So Nathan Salt's article is really interesting, actually. A bit on Shea Lacey first and foremost, though. Shea Lacey is the clear front runner to make his first team debut between now and January. While Jack Fletcher, who Amorim likes a lot, Lacey is understood to have been very close to making the bench for the Sunderland home game before falling one place short. So looks like Shea Lacey is the closest player to make his debut for Manchester United from the academy. So he's the front runner to make his first team debut between now and the January, while Jack Fletcher is also kind of in and around it as well. He was in the squad to travel down to Spurs, I think, because Kobbie Mainoo was injured. I'm pretty much correct in that. And he's an exciting talent as well. Jack Fletcher really is an exciting talent. Shea Lacey is an exciting talent. And apparently for Sunderland, he only fell one place short, so that's exciting as well. Shea Lacey, I think, would have made his debut way earlier for Manchester United if he hadn't been plagued with injury issues. So I just hope he can stay injury-free because he's such an exciting talent. He really is. He's Phil Foden-esque. And I know I shouldn't say that because Phil Foden's from the blue side of Manchester, but do you know that, like, once in a blue moon, another City pun, once in a blue moon kind of talents that is just that little bit extra. They've got that little bit extra bit of special about them, that bit of extra sparkle. That's what Shea Lacey's like. The way he can run with the ball and it just is stuck to his foot. The way he can thread passes through the eye of a needle. His creativity, his technical ability on the ball. He primarily plays as a number 10, but can play off the right, can play across the front line. And I think with Mbeumo and Ahmad potentially leaving for AFCON, this could be a real opportunity. Sesko being injured, we don't know when he's back. This could be a real opportunity for Shea Lacey to potentially get some minutes off the bench. So yeah, let's see what happens with that. But he's definitely an exciting prospect, and I hope we see him get a few minutes, but again, you don't want to rush anybody in, do you? But yeah, it's one to watch out for sure. And then just a little bit on Ruben Amorim as well. So which bit did I want to read out here? Sorry guys, I'm just getting up. Okay, yeah, here we go. Ruben Amorim is very direct, but he's easy to deal with and often likes to exchange a joke or two with the regulars who speak to him each week. Earlier on, he was guilty from the club's point of view of being too honest. For example, calling his side the worst in Manchester United's history. He's slightly more careful now, but understands the job we do, and plenty of other Premier League managers can be far more hostile. So Ruben Amorim, he's a learner driver. He's a learner driver, Ruben Amorim, and he's a young manager coming into the Premier League in one of, if not the biggest clubs in the world. He had some learning to do himself. He learned about Casemiro and how to manage him. He's come through it. He's learned about how to speak to players in his squad that played for Manchester United. He's come through it. He's got the dressing room behind him, and I don't think there's anything wrong with a manager being honest and open with his squad. I think actually it's respectable, and I know he's got a lot of passion. And I mean, there was a report out that the incident where he smashed the TV and potentially even shed a tear, that was the report. Players actually gained a lot of respect for him out of that because they could see how much he cared. And when you've got a manager type player relationship, the most motivating thing for you as a player is to see that your manager kind of cares the same way that you care about the team and also your development as well. And when Amorim maybe sometimes goes a bit too far or is a bit emotional, it comes out of a place of care. Whenever you see extreme emotions in life, it's because that person is passionate about it or cares about it. Whenever you just kind of, what would you rather? A manager be like, you did this, but this, and it just going at you, but also, in a way, you'll get the same back when you do well. You'll get all the praise, you'll get all the love, you'll get the arm around the shoulder. And I think Amorim he can be that player. I don't think he's ever going to bring a player in after a game and go absolutely in on them straight after a game, because he likes not to speak to the players, because that can happen because he's overly emotional. But after the game, in the meeting, is where he kind of unleashes, and he's done it before. He went in on Garnacho, told him to find a new club. Good luck finding one of them. He said Ugarte wasn't the same player that he had at Sporting Lisbon, and he thinks he's kind of lost his way a little bit. So he can still be harsh on players, but he doesn't always do it straight after the game. And I think when you're a player, you just want your manager to care, and I think Amorim at least does that. And if you didn't have any sort of opinion, then you'd be like, what are we all here for? What are we doing? Like, why aren't you even bothered? So he's got the Manchester United job because of all of his attributes that help him be the best possible man manager. And I think that's where Ruben Amorim really has it understood now of how he needs to manage the Manchester United squad, and he has it on lock a little bit. I think it's a really strong part of his management, his ability to manage, his ability to weed out the egos, and his ability to keep the squad harmony as well as doing that. Because when you do what Ruben Amorim's done, which is get rid of the star boy in Alejandro Garnacho. I'm not kind of the person that says star boy, but that's what everyone uses now. He got rid of the star boy from the academy. You know, he had Viva Garnacho, and he was starting every single week under Erik ten Hag. He got rid of Rashford, who is been at the club since I can't even remember what age he joined, but it was early days. I think it was like 6 years old. And the fans were growing a little bit tired of his seemingly lack of passion for the club still, and his lack of work rate. But the fans had a soft spot for, because he come through the academy, because the amount of goals he scored, for the amount of times where he's carried Manchester United on his back, the moments that he's brought to the club. To do that and not lose the dressing room, he's done very, very well. And if anything, the dressing room has got a lot stronger. Even with the Casemiro thing, like, that would have ruffled the dressing room a little bit. Casemiro going below Toby Collier in the pecking order, which Amorim admitted himself. But he's gained the respect from the dressing room by bringing him back to the forefront. He's part of the senior leadership team and he's first name on the team sheet now. And he's earned that respect from the dressing room because at first Casemiro don't fancy him at all. But because he's trained really well, because his mentality is top notch and because he's played well, he's now my go-to guy. And you earn respect when you handle things in the right way. Erik ten Hag lost the dressing room because he tried to weed out certain personalities, but the players didn't take to the way he did it. And that's how he ended up losing the dressing room. And also, there was other things that happened, I think, where he lost him a little bit. I think he was very, very, very meticulous. Ruben Amorim lets him have a bit of freedom, and he has handled things in the right way. I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think Ruben Amorim has handled certain decisions with poise and handled them with respect and handled them with an element of, I'm the boss still. Respect, but I'm the boss. You're not the boss of Man United. You're not the boss of Manchester United. I'm the boss. And while I'm here, what I say will go. However, all of you are allowed your input. All of you are grown men. That's been put out there. All of you will be treated with respect. And if you work hard for me, I'll work hard for you. If you give me everything, I'll give you more. And I think that's kind of the message that Amorim's put across to his squad. So, yeah, I like the way that he's manoeuvred the squad to make it a better atmosphere, it's more of a tight-knit group, and there's been multiple things he's changed to allow that to happen, and INEOS have helped as well. So yeah, interesting to kind of get an inside scoop on that. And then just a little bit more on Semenyo that I missed at the start of the show. So this is from Nathan Salt, so a different journalist. It was the thing that we brought in at the start of the show was from The Athletic. Antoine Semenyo is one to watch. Even if Liverpool are viewed as frontrunners in that particular pursuit and expect United to be watching Mark Gay's situation with interest given his contract will be with 6 months from expiring. A centre-back is on the agenda with limited progress made on extending Harry Maguire's deal, which expires in the summer. He will be free to sign a pre-contract agreement with clubs abroad in around 6 weeks' time as things stand. So, from Nathan Salt there, Antoine Semenyo is one to watch, even if Liverpool are front runners. I can assume it's because of the prior relationship we've built with Semenyo through looking at him last year and last season. Not last year, this year and last season. And then Mark Gay here, that is music to my ears. Coming out from Nathan Salt. So again, even though Liverpool are expected to be front runners, keep an eye on the Mark Gay situation. We've scouted him previously and we've made limited progress on extending Maguire's deal. It looks like Harry Maguire could be heading out of Manchester United. And I've always said, if he does go, which as much as I love Harry, I don't think would be the worst thing in the world, you've got to replace him with a top player, because I've always said this, I'd be open to keeping Harry Maguire if, you know, we weren't going to go and splash on a top centre-back, but and he took a wage cut to be that, you know, senior figure in the dressing room, plays one game a week here and there, but being that leader and being that experience you can rely upon. But if you let Maguire go on a free and then you sign Mark Gay on a free, that is brilliant business, and that's exactly the type of business United should be doing, because Maguire's had his best now and he's moving past his best and his contract's expiring. Mark Gay's on a free. He brings the leadership that you're losing out on with Maguire because of his captaincy and experience at Crystal Palace. He's playing for England, so he's played, you know, at the top level of international football as well. He's going to be England's starter. He's literally replaced Harry Maguire in the England team. So to replace Harry Maguire in the United team, that would be, you're moving on with the times, you're taking that step up, you're finding your replacement. And he's absolutely class, and he's exactly the type of player we need. So, and he's played in a back three as well. He's played in the back three really well under Glasner. So I really would love to go and get Mark Gay, and if we could get that deal done, it would save us a bit of money because it's a free transfer, and you're getting a top centre-back for an amazing deal, and it frees you up some money to spend elsewhere. Could that money go on a Semenyo? Could that money go on a better midfielder? And I'm excited that Nathan Salt's talking about keeping an eye on Semenyo and Mark Gay, because they're two Premier League proven players that would come into this team and make a huge difference. And Mark Gay absolutely would be somebody that comes in and, I mean, could you imagine Mark Gay and De Ligt playing together? I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. But anyway, smash a like on the video. We need midfield. I know, midfield. I know we need midfield, guys. We're going to go for 2 midfielders, but we can't just draw the line at midfield. We need 2 midfielders, left-sided centre-back, left wing-back, potentially another forward, potentially backup goalkeeper. But as I said on the show yesterday, could Harry Armas come in and compete for that left wing-back spot? He's doing super well at Sheffield Wednesday. You get Mark Gay on a free. That's kind of... I know you're going to have to give him a sign-on fee and a decent contract, but still, it's a way lower fee, so that kind of takes splashing out big money on a left-sided centre-back off the agenda, and you've got more money to play with. Plus, there'll be sales. Rashford's wage will be going off the books, 300 grand a week. Bruno might go to Saudi. We would get money in from there, and that's 300 grand a week off the books. Casemiro looks like he's going to be going 300 grand off a week off the books. Could even be more. I think Casemiro and Bruno are on 350. I would have to absolutely clarify with the Champions League sort of condition, it drops a little bit. And then you've got Harry Maguire, who's on around 190k a week as well. So the wage bill will be cut massively. Bruno might stay. He's not made a decision on his future yet. But if he does go, money's coming in. Who knows what's going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo? If he goes, money's coming in of pure profit. If Rashford goes, which he will, it's pure profit again. So we'll make some money in the summer. We will. Who is it from? I don't know. I'd like it not to be from Mainoo ideally, but we will make some money in the summer. We will have money to spend, so don't worry. We're going to spend on 2 midfielders. I've just twisted my arm with my mic. We're going to spend on 2 midfielders, but we've got to look at other options as well. It's not just the midfield. There's other areas of this team that need improving for sure. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for getting involved. All of the comments. A couple people there saying I'm selling it to them. I hope so. Sancho's wage gone. Yeah, Sancho's wage gone. I mean, I know Villa are contributing towards it, but they're not playing the full whack. He's on 350 grand a week. I mean, 350 grand a week here, 300 grand a week there, 300 grand a week there, 200 grand a week there. Like, think about how much that is. I'm actually going to, before I leave the show, I'm just going to quickly leave you on this calculator out. Oh, God, watch me get this wrong now. So, 300, I'm just going to do a basis of 300 grand a week, yeah? Times Bruno, Sancho, Casemiro, Rashford, so times 4. I mean, I don't need a calculator for this. What's that coming out at? So that's coming out at 12. Am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's coming out at 1.2 million. 1.2 million a week we could be saving on wages. And then if you had another 200 grand a week on that from Harry Maguire, you know, you're looking at around there, like 1.4 million you could be saving weekly from wages. And if you add that over the course of a year, times 52. I don't think so. I've just times that by 52 and it's 62.4 million, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on it. Like, that's a lot of money. That's a player. That's literally a fee for a really good player there. So anyway, I'm hoping my maths is right. I'm hoping it's not botched. There's a lot of zeros. Am I right there with 64 million? Someone will let me know. Mount is 250k. Sesko Lover says, yeah, there's a lot of big wages, in this squad. But anyway, I'll leave you with that. Something to think about. The wages being cut, you might not think about it because it's just a wage, but that money really does add up, and that gives us a massive helping hand when it comes to FFP and financial fair play as well. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Have a lovely rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you on the next one.